welcome back to the Nürburgring for day 2 of the Nürburgring TT by 24 Racing Series. Unfortunately, I am not joined by Jack Hammer in this evening's broadcast, but you'll have me, your commentator Riley Davis, to bring you the main event, the 1 hour endurance race here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the modern TT at the Nürburgring. And this time we've got 10 riders, all in the same class. Whereas yesterday we had 2 classes, the 1000 and 750 class. We had Alfie Cox take victory in the class on his Ducati 1098R. And he's a little bit easier to tell apart from his rival in that race, Mogsy, this time. Because they had a very similar livery in yesterday's race. As you actually see Mogsy's real teammate, Tilian, there alongside him on track as he goes through this qualifying session and around the outside of Ash, who wasn't around for yesterday's race. You can see him there on the V4R. Scotty there as well, he wasn't around. He's a newcomer on the GSX-R 1000. But yeah, lots of Ducatis out there in this one, and understandably, yeah, no, my apologies. Yesterday I was saying that Mogsy and Alfie were teammates. Their 1098Rs looking very similar, but of course Alfie's 1098R being a Beer Monster Ducati, and Mogsy, the same livery he's running now, the MLD Ducati, which of course, as I just mentioned, Tlian is also riding as well. So right now, at this point in time, we have only 4 minutes left of this session, because we joined in quite late and absolutely no one set a lap yet. So it's really a bit of a Super Pole session here as to who's going to get this. We've got Charlie out there, who took victory in yesterday's 750 class, now looking to take overall victory in the main class. He's about to come to line in about 2 minutes time to finish his first lap of the session. First and only lap of the session, in fact. These guys are getting their flying lap, so it is not slow. They're not fresh out of pit lane. Adam BGP was second in yesterday's 750 class on the Kawasaki ZX-7R, and now he's out there on the Aprilia RSV4. A lot of people on the BMW M1000, the original M1000 from 2021, rather than the current M1000R, because I don't think there is an endurance version of that in Ride 6. But at the moment, yeah, those BMWs doing well. And, well, actually, we're not too sure, because nobody's set a lap time yet. And just a few more words for everybody else. Mason, of course, left us, left the lobby about halfway into yesterday's classic TT, despite qualifying on pole position on his FZR 750 OW01. He had a really difficult race and was right in the mix at the start, but yeah, it just went completely wrong for him, for Mason. So yeah, he left, and then not long after, if you were watching yesterday, we had the very unfortunate disconnection from the lobby. Well, not the racers, but me, in the fact that my game crashed midway through, and it was heartbreaking because we were literally on course for for an amazing final half between Mogsy and Alfie, who had just gone into the pits right behind each other in the lead of the race. So hopefully we get just as close a battle. Good to see Ducksworth watching on. I'm sure supporting Mason Roth out there as we watch him. And it looks like a few people might have just got some laps down now. It does look like that. A 6:41.1 from Charlie. Well, Bob Rang 30, if you don't know his actual name. Charlie Randall's a man who runs this league. A newcomer by the looks of it. Clearly a newcomer on circuit. Must have just ran it last year. Of course, I don't know all that much about the championship, just because I wasn't around last time at any point, really. There was no stream for this championship, so I didn't really get any coverage of it. But yeah, Mogsy's gone up in second with a 6:43.8, a little bit slower than Charlie, but a decent banker lap just to get it down. Most people here won't be going all that fast. You might actually see some lap times, maybe even some slower than what we saw in yesterday's classic TT with the 1000 class. Captain Slow setting a 1:40 in that. So at the moment he would be on pole position on his 2008 R1. But of course, it's a shame actually. Not here today is Captain Slow. He had a really difficult start to the Classic TT yesterday. Crashed at turn 1 in a crash with Mason. Who got a good start. Gamer Jamie also here today. Wasn't here for the Classic TT on the M1000. The Gen 1 M1000. The 657.3. Talion goes into 4th with 658.3. Everyone, as I said, everyone's just trying to get some laps down, a lap down, and not crash, as we've now actually got only 18 seconds left on the clock. Alfie's going to make it to the line here. It's not going to be the most competitive lap, but it's still most likely going to see him into the top 3, and I think it definitely will, as he now comes to the line. Yesterday's winner from the Classic TT, he goes 3rd with a 646, and Mason's going... he might actually do well here, Mason. I'm not too sure how long it will take him to get down this straight. Actually, I don't think he's going to make it to the line, you know. He's going to cut it close now as he comes under the bridge to the left. It's really fast. It is really going to go down to the wire here for Mason. He's not going to get pole position, not for a long shot. He must have had a few crashes on that lap. I'm pretty sure we saw him go down at one point while I was just checking the live comments, as here he comes in around the final few corners. He's really cutting it close here. Can he make it to the line? He's going to be really close. He's got 5 seconds to do it. What can you do, Mason? Are you going to get the lap down? It's going to be strong if it's... No, it's not enough. Oh, Mason. He doesn't get to the flag and he starts last. What a shame. But everybody else getting their laps down. Donahue, I didn't mention him. My apologies. 1992 on the CBR 1000. It's a 07.06.4. So not too bad. But as I said, you know, people just trying to get some decent laps down. Just trying not to crash. And keeping consistent. Because they only got one shot at that there. A bit of a Super Pole qualifying session to start it off. But here we go. It is a 1 hour endurance race. And if you don't know the regulations, they have to pit every single lap. And it takes about 40% of fuel for a full lap on maximum power. So here it is, and the main event. Can Alfie do the double in this one? He got pole position. Oh, no, he didn't. He didn't get pole position. My apologies. He won yesterday's Classic TT in fine fashion. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that last 20 minutes, which was really, really disappointing. But we did get treated to a nice, well, semi-on-board lap of the Nürburgring TT, courtesy of me with no crashes, and Jack Hammer, the two-time MotoGP Esport champion, to take us through the circuit and its benefits, because he did mention he had raced there before in Ride 2, so I'm sure he knows all the markers as you can expect from a man of his level. Mason receiving some hate in the comments by the looks of it. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I agree. That's Mason actually just popping his name in there and joining in as we wait for the race to start. Good luck, Mason. He's not going to hear that. He's gone back deafened. But he's preparing to stay on call so he can undeafen if he rage quits, which he predicts may happen in the race. And he may have just done it in qualifying. But here we go anyway. The main event. The modern TT here at the Nürburgring gets underway, and it's a brilliant start from Charlie Randalls. The league owner leads us down into turn 1 on the M1000RR. The TV camera making it a little bit difficult to see what's happening, but it looks like everybody got through nice and cleanly through turn 1. Unfortunately not for Scotty, but 9 riders all through cleanly in turn 1. Charlie now leads from Mogsy, who's looking to not finish in second place again, having led a good chunk of yesterday's Classic TT. Alfie's off to a bit of a rocky start, losing a bit of time there to Mogsy and Charlie behind him, and now he's under attack from Adam, someone who hasn't battled yet in this meeting so far, because Adam, of course, was on the ZX7RR yesterday, whereas Alfie was on the Ducati 1098R, and he's not going to be battling him for any longer as Adam BGP goes down. Unfortunately, the RSV4 hits the deck and he rejoins the back of the pack with Scotty on the GSXR. Gamer Jamie's had a bit of a disappointing start as well. Donahue not too bad on the CBR, gaining positions. Ash on the Ducati in 6th. But Mason up there well, getting a good start in 5th on the M1000R. And now chasing down Talion on the Ducati. Let's see what it's back looking like at the lead. Charlie Randall's really putting in the work here. Bob Rank on that lovely looking M1000RR, of course, I'll mention again, I don't think there's an endurance modified version of the current M1000RR in Ride 6. So this is why they're using this bike. And of course the BMW M1000RR, it's well, both versions, the Gen 2 and Gen 1, proven endurance and road racing machinery. Whereas the Ducati is a little bit of a different story, but it's less of an endurance race here with an hour, but I don't know if the time is compressed. As we go on board with Mogsy chasing down Charlie. Charlie, of course, wasn't in this battle for the lead yesterday. He was on the Kawasaki ZX-R 750 and won the Classic TT. So he's looking to do the double as well, be it not in the Premier class. But it could still be 2 out of 2 for him coming out of this one. Ash done a good job to get up into 4th. Mason might have just hit some trouble. He's in 6th behind Gamer Jamie, and Tleon's right on his tail on that V4R, and you can just feel like that Ducati's going to overpower that M1000. But Mason doing a really good job to maintain speed through the corners. Tleon, another rocky starter to this race clearly, but there will be time, as it looks like Charlie is started on the hard, so he's going to most likely stay on those hards for one more lap after this one and just fuel up the bike, because it is regulation to pit at least once. But Mogsy doing a brilliant job to hang in there and just bide his time. He's still got 57 minutes, don't forget. There's plenty of time left to win this race, and then he's just got to be patient. Same with Alfie. Everybody's just taking their time and being careful. And as I say that, Mogsy goes down. That was a bit of a weird one. I think he caught the curb on the outside, and we just caught the rear end of it in terms of the footage. And Ride 6 getting a bit laggy there on the replay, perhaps. So, yeah, that's really unfortunate. Mogsy going down on the hard front, soft rear. Of course, no medium tyres in Ride 6 for some obscene reason. But, yeah, Alfie now chasing down Charlie in the lead. And he's looking to get comfortable and do the overall double. It is a shame not to have Jack Hammer back with us to take us through this magnificent and historical circuit. As we go through turn 18, I don't think the corner counter is correct. There's no way that is accurate, as we said yesterday. Let's go with Alfie. He's got quite the gap. Unfortunately, in Ride 6, as amazing as the game is, we can't see the gaps between riders in replay mode, which is a real shame. So we don't actually know the gap between these two at the moment. But Alfie already facing a penalty of 0.1. Not going to affect him in the long run unless that starts to build up, and unless we see it go all the way to the flag between Charlie and Alfie, or maybe, well, anyone's still got a chance at this with only 5 minutes into this endurance race. Mason in 6th at the moment. I've done enough shout outs to him. He's okay now. He's on the back of Gamer Jamie and Ash, who are currently in a bit of a group for 4th place here. Ash on the Ducati, and then he's got 2 BMWs behind him. Clearly, as most people are, just taking it easy on this start, as Gamer Jamie's going to try and set one up, and down goes Ash. That's a hard one there. He's absolutely gone flying into the barriers. Huge moment on the curbs. A big shame for Ash, who was hanging in well there for 4th, and now it's Mason versus Jamie for 4th place. And they're not too far from Mogsy here. They could be on for a podium if they work together, and Mason, if it stays like that, maybe on course to not end up joining me in the commentary box. It can work either way for me. I'd like to see him get a good result, but I'd like to see him in the commentary box at the same time. So you won't see me being upset if he crashes. And Alfie really starting to reel in Charlie now. We could see him just ahead at first, but I'm just getting a look at fueling and tyres. Both of them on the double hards, so they're most likely not going to pit for new tyres on this first lap. Of course, if you're just joining us, regulation, if you knew it from the Classic TT yesterday evening, they have to pit every single lap. And that's exactly what's going to happen here as we come to the back end of the circuit here at the Nordschleife. Alfie Cox getting all the closer thanks to that lightning fast Ducati. Just look at how much it is closing on the straight. It's unbelievable. He's nowhere near the slipstream, and we're seeing a right gap close, and that's maybe about a second, maybe 2 seconds gained on the straight alone for Alfie. That is just how incredible this Ducati is. He all catches the grass there. That would have lost him some of that gain time, and now they're going to start slowing up to go into pit lane. One of the worst things you can do is crash into pit lane, because that's when the autopilot takes over and it starts getting all confused because it's found yourself on the floor. In comes Charlie, in comes Alfie. Nicely done. Alfie's gained a good amount of time there on the brakes into the pits, and let's just see what they're going for. It looks like, yeah, as I predicted, they're not swapping tyres and they're going to start fueling up, but how much? I think they could even go another lap. It seems like the fuel consumption is really, really beneficial for these guys, at least for these bikes. When Jack calculated it yesterday on a ZX7RR, and that took about 41% fuel on full power. So either they're not going full power to save time in pit lane, or the fuel efficiency is absolutely fantastic. Alfie has lost a lot of time there. Charlie may have filled up by about 10%, and that's all. He didn't even change tyres either. Alfie filled it up back to the top as he's now on 97% fuel. Mogsy's out there, and he's swapped onto a hard rear. So he realised that the soft rear was not a good choice, or it was a mistake from him, and has jumped onto the hard to help him last a little bit longer. Looks like he didn't fuel up much either. Ash once again back into 4th place, so clearly something happening there to Gamer Jamie and Mason, because Mason's dropped off the back of those two. There's Donoghue now in the pits. He's struggling. He's quite far behind on that CBR 1000, but he's not too far behind Adam BGP. And Tillian struggling on that Ducati, but he's, excuse me, closing in on Scotty ahead of him on the GSX-R 1000. Scotty clearly not filling up the bike in that one, maybe just using eco mode on that first lap as that Ducati flies on through. It's a shame really, but you wouldn't have expected anything else as Gamer Jamie goes through around the outside of Ash. They're about to reach the first 10-minute mark, only a lap and a bit in. Here comes Ash with that insanely powerful Ducati trying to go around the outside. He needs to be patient. He's got a long time to wait. As I was just saying, 9 minutes in, you've got another 51 left, Ash. Plenty of time, as he nearly just went into the wall there, but he's going for it to try and keep up with Gamer Jamie. Mason struggling to hang in with these two, but hoping that they'll engage in some battling. Talia not too far behind the Cumbrian either. As Alfie is looking menacing, he's starting to close the gap back down to Charlie. Might have just filled up that little bit more so he can run the higher power mode, and now is looking to close in. It's been a while since I've discussed fueling strategy, because of course MotoGP 25 and 24 it's sort of irrelevant, because you could just sit on power mode 3 for a whole race, whereas in 23 it was fantastic. You really had to manage your fuel settings like these guys are doing here. Of course, it's unlikely they'll run out of fuel unless they make a poor decision not to pit. But these guys will know on average how much fuel they're using per lap. So I highly doubt that's going to happen. But you know, never say never in endurance racing. Sometimes the concentration can just fade, and maybe your finger just slips while you're trying to I don't know, pick up a drink or something, and accidentally click the X button on do not fuel up the bike. Because there's options there to just click the button and say don't fuel up the bike. We're all good, because it takes quite a long time for it to start fueling. The cutscene is quite long, as we can just see Alfie just biding his time. Of course, I'm going to say at least 20 times in this race, or on the next lap alone. He's lapping really quickly here. I mean, his opening lap was a 6:57, so that's really strong from Alfie for an opening lap, especially considering he went into the pits for this one. We're not going to see pit times anywhere close to what we were seeing in qualifying, because they had flying laps, whereas in this race they're going to be coming out of the pits and going into it in every race. The final lap most likely being the fastest, because they'll come out of the pits and then they'll go straight to the line without going into the pits, and that's what's going to make the strategy interesting. Are they going to spend more time in the pits into the last lap, or would they, you know, use the penultimate pit to lose all the time they have to, swapping tyres to the best they can do, getting a fresh set of hards, and filling up the fuel tank completely so it can last them the next 2 laps. But they still have to go into the pit lane. But they can choose not to fill up the bike and not switch tyres, so they'll be in there for a significantly less amount of time for the riders who do want to do that. But on the last lap, someone could jump in for some double softs on the front, softs on the front and rear. And from the previous lap, they could have fueled up their bike more than enough to last them the lap. But, you know, to be honest, the hard tyres take a bit of a beating on this lap. We're just about halfway through the lap here on board with, well, not on board, we're seeing from Alfie's view, following Charlie. Those hard tyres already, 67% on the front and 50% on the rear. So soft tyres might not be the best idea. Of course, medium's not available. Hard on the front, hard on the rear for most of the grid now. Except for Jamie, who's now made his way up into 4th on softs. I'm pretty sure he just swapped to them in the previous pit stop just to gain a little bit of time on this pack of him, Mason and Ash that has started to separate now as Mason tries to chase down his fellow BMW rider and get into that top 4. He's really going to be upset about that qualifying, but again, he's still got plenty of time to win this race as we're only 13 minutes in now. Mogsy will be very disappointed with that earlier mistake. That's going to lose him a lot of time. I think he might have crashed a little bit more because he is very far away from Alfie and Charlie ahead of him. So he's got to really put in the work to claw in the time. And if they start battling, that can definitely happen. You can just see them, little specks of nothingness at the top of your screen going down the straight. And here comes Alfie with that incredible Ducati power. Let's go on board with Charlie to see this happen in real time. Alfie is going to come flying past it. Oh no, I think Alfie might actually want to sit behind him and go into the pits behind him, maybe, for some reason or other. Might not just want to get caught up in the tango in pit lane. Might not be worth it, but it all depends on what their strategies are. You feel like Charlie might just need a new rear wheel as Alfie nearly goes into the back of him there. That got close in pit lane. And I think that was just why they were avoiding it. But yeah, you feel like Charlie's going to go shopping for a new rear tyre. Maybe not the front. And Alfie might just stick it out on what he's got for now. And I think Mogsy would definitely do that. He also swapped onto the hards. But here we go then, out of the pits. Let's see what the choices were. They come out just as close as they came in. And Alfie is out there on double hards with 83% fuel. And Charlie the same. And no, neither of them swapped. But Mogsy coming out there in 3rd on the double hards. He didn't need to swap. And that would have... Well, no, he wouldn't have gained time because they didn't swap ahead of him either. So not much time gain, unfortunately, for Mogsy. Strategy coming into play big time here, and he's going to be looking to make that difference in strategy. Gamer Jamie comes out of the pits. He's fueled the tank completely. He's gone... No, he's stayed on the softs he's already on, and that's quite interesting because it seems like the soft tyres that he was just on that previous lap have taken less of a beating than the ones... Oh, sorry, no. Alfie has been on those hard since the start of this race. He's been on that hard front since the start of this race, but only just got onto that hard rear on lap 2. My mistake. But yeah, 62% on the front for Charlie. Wow, a big jump there on the M1000, chasing down the Ducati, but Alfie's starting to break away. Hard rear at 27%. I think we're just seeing that come into play now for Alfie's beer monster Ducati. So we're definitely going to see a tyre change, at least on the rear, for Charlie in this next lap, the number 20. Doing well, though, to stick with Alfie, just looking to put the pressure on. We're seeing a lot less mistakes from the top runners in this race compared to the Classic, because I can imagine they practiced a lot more for this one, just to get used to the faster bikes, because they'll be a lot harder to ride, these will. I mean, of course, in real life, it would be a bit of an even field because there's no electronic assists on the Classic bikes, but these guys can just flick it on whenever they want, thanks to Ride 6's wonderful realism. So I imagine a good chunk of them were using traction control and anti-wheelie in that race yesterday on bikes from the 90s. Mogsy trying to close the gap, doesn't quite look like he's doing it. He's done a 6:50 on that last lap. He was 3 seconds quicker than Charlie, but he was just a tiny bit slower than Alfie, so he's matched the pace of the race leader, the guy he was battling for the victory with yesterday. As we're now 15 minutes into this race, the first quarter of this Nürburgring TT is done, and Alfie leads it. And he nearly went into the wall there. Charlie keeping him honest. He's just taking it easy now. I think he probably should have gone onto a new rear tyre. And that's seeming to lose him a lot of time. So let's see if Moggs is able to close that. As I mentioned, he was 3 seconds faster than Charlie on that last lap. So looking to gain some more time. As you can see now on the map, he can start to just see Charlie creeping in, as he still looking like he's on a lot better pace and trying to make it a Ducati 1-2 on that MLD V4R. Gamer Jamie looks like he's pulled away from Mason as Talian's joined that battle for the top 5. Ash must have made a mistake at some point. He's dropped 7th, or maybe just some strategy making the difference there, as Mason has swapped onto the hard front and soft rear. Gamer Jamie on the double soft, staying out on the softs he swapped for last lap, that have actually done really well in wear, but I can imagine that he'll be swapping after this lap. And because of that decision to not swap tyres, he was 4 seconds quicker than Mason on that last lap. I don't actually know if the timing line is before where you stop for the pits, but I'm pretty sure it is just after. So you're coming out, just rolling out of the pits, and you hit the line. But let's test that theory. Well, actually, we won't be able to see it until they're fully out of the pits, so I'm not sure if we will be able to. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I didn't even notice that Alfie must have crashed, because that huge gap, that huge advantage he once had, has now been destroyed as he's back to 2nd place behind Charlie. He must have crashed somewhere, feeling himself a little bit too much for victory today. Just his pace getting the better of him. And now, if he just stays calm, he should be okay. Oh dear, he's into the wall, and he's managed to stay on it. A brilliant effort from Alfie, and he's just trying to ask everything of that V4R to catch back up to Charlie. Don't worry, man. You've got plenty of time. Your rear tyre, is at least in way better condition than Charlie's at this point in time. You've got the pace, you've got the bike as well to catch him. So just take it easy for now. He's also got a slight advantage over him in fuel, but not going to make all that much of a difference. Well, every difference makes a difference, of course. About half a second, maybe, that could find him in pit lane, depending on how much they want to fuel up. That's going to see Mogsy then close in a significant amount on this duo in front, unless he is starting to make some more mistakes, similar to his fellow Ducati rider ahead as he ran onto the grass there. One of the mistakes showing. It looks like that gap's to Alfie in front about the same distance that it was when we saw Charlie on the map only a couple of minutes ago on this lap. So it seems like Mogsy might have dropped the bike somewhere as well. But yeah, Charlie leading now a good amount over Alfie, but we're going to see that Ducati close in a little bit more on the straight. But yeah, Alfie got a really handy lead now. I think Charlie got a handy lead now over Alfie, who probably might change the rear. If he is listening to us, sometimes he does listen to these streams, he will know that, well, he won't know in fact that Charlie's rear tyre is in terrible condition after deciding to stay out on it, that rear hard. So he might just, if I was him, I'd go in and get a new tyre on, because rear tyre at least, maybe not the front. They're both similar conditioned front tyres, and they're both doing well. So let's see what we go for here. We're with Charlie, and he's going to get a fresh, as to be expected, rear tyre. Alfie doesn't look like he's going to make this. I think they change tyres after they fuel up. But Alfie fueling up to the top. Let's see what he does. He's staying out. He's staying out on that rear tyre that's currently at 28%. That can prove crucial to this race, as Charlie's now on a fresh rear hard tyre. However, he's going to have to get them up to temperature. It won't take that long. But Mogsy's now not too far behind the pack either. His tyres are in good nick, and his fuel is too. So Mogsy can get involved in this. If he can hang on to the back of Charlie, they're already catching Alfie, because that rear tyre of his is in terrible condition. He spent more time fueling up than changing the rear tyre. As I said yesterday, no tyres, just gas, as the famous words of Lightning McQueen, which was, of course, his undoing in the Piston Cup finale, which ended up going to the finale in Florida. Or is it California? I can't remember. I haven't watched it in a while. I'm sure I've got plenty of cars professionals ready to roast me in the comments for saying that one. I believe it was California that McQueen was trying to get to. But yeah, Alfie doing well to hang on to this lead at this point. He's spent more time fueling up the bike, which wasn't overly necessary, but he could have something in his mind that we don't. That rear tyre is really going to start to struggle on this lap. Now, we're about to hit the halfway mark already, and I think it's going to just be between these three, as Mason's made his way through up into fourth on a fresh hard front and soft rear, ahead of Gamer Jamie, who has done the opposite, and despite being soft most of this race, he's gone for double hards, and now he's all over the back of Mason. Mason's going to be a little bit quicker, but Gamer Jamie just seeming to be a little bit more comfortable at this point as he tries to get alongside Mason. Oh, that got sketchy, and it's like, fly over. I don't know how Gamer Jamie's still on that. Jamie, got that completely out of shape. Went down on the front wheel over that jump. Oh my goodness. And now these BMWs, side by side. Not anymore, as Jamie drops the front into that long right-hander before you go down the hill and under the bridge, and he rejoins behind Talian in 5th place. Ash trying to get back involved as well. Adam, Scotty and Donegue being the bottom three of this race for at least the last 20 minutes now, unfortunately. Having a real difficult time out there, but I'm sure just enjoying their time in an endurance race. They are quite a lot of fun, as Talian's gone down, unfortunately. More heartbreak for the number 6 man on the Ducati. He's having a real difficult time adjusting to ride 6 by the looks of it, as he's it looks like Jamie's crashed as well, so they're back side by side again. Mason, he's got a real big job to do if he wants to get on the podium here. With 36 minutes to go, it's still very much possible with the hard front and soft rear. He's definitely got the advantage. Oh, Charlie's dropped to 3rd. It's difficult to see when these things happen because all the standings are so similar and we don't see the gap, so it's quite difficult to tell when somebody has an accident. In the MotoGP games, we get told on the graphics when someone crashes, and I can't even imagine how long it took me to notice that. I bet you're all screaming at the TV while I was yapping about cars that Charlie has dropped to 3rd on his M1000RR. Clearly just getting a little bit too overconfident with that rear tyre being in better condition than Alfie's. But it looks like Mogsy's crashed as well, as he was starting to close in on Alfie. Alfie is now back into the lead nice and comfortably, despite that rear tyre being in a horrible condition. 22% on the rear compared to Charlie being 74 on the rear and Mogsy 36. But all still relatively the same on the front tyre, which I will believe may go on for one more lap. That hard tyre does seem to hang on really well. And I believe Charlie's had his since the start of the race. Oh, no, sorry. Maybe not. I'm pretty sure it's hard to keep track of the laps because it's timed and we don't remember how many times they went in. That was their second pit stop, that last one. So, yeah, Donegue having a real difficult time. But he's a newcomer. He'll be back whenever the next event may be, when the full calendar gets dropped on that CBR 1000. Just trying to get in touch with Ride 6 and how to ride endurance in this situation. Scotty out there on a very Cert-inspired GSX 1000, not having the race he would have wanted, but it's just a learning process as a newcomer. Let's see what Mason's doing though. I think he might have crashed because he's got Talian for company, not too far behind him in 5th. It's really, really disappointing that we can't see the gaps to the riders ahead. We might be able to spot it on Mason's dash Possibly. I don't think you can do that. Plus, he's moving around too much to notice it. No, you can't see how far that other person is ahead. But I tell you what, we don't need timings to tell how far ahead Charlie is of Mogsy now. Mogsy not too far off Charlie, and now it looks like Alfie has got himself a lovely, healthy lead, despite that rear tyre not being in the best of condition, as I mentioned earlier. 67% of fuel, so he's not going to have to worry about fuel either. He's going to be able to go another lap on that current fuel load. But hard front, hard rear. May switch the front while he's at it, but I doubt it. Might just go for a new hard on the rear. But he's done a valiant job to stay on it despite that. And now Mogsy all over the back of Charlie. Something not going wrong, not going right even for Charlie. A small difference in front wear, but we're going to see the Ducati fly past now. Again, we're going to go on board with Charlie to see Mogsy absolutely shoot past, I can imagine, on our left-hand side. Unless he is just wanting... it looks like they're actually struggling. They might just be prioritising the Ducati's acceleration and in a way of... which can also hinder the straight line speed. He's going to try and pass him, maybe, before they get into pit lane. Alfie goes in, and here they come into that final sequence of left to right zigzags almost. And they come into the pits nicely, nearly brushing the wall there. Let's see what Alfie goes for, though, as I imagined. A fresh, hard rear. And yeah, he's going for a fresh pair of hard tyres. So that reset. No, he is staying on the front hard, and... let's see what he refuels to now. 81%. So, a really efficient pit stop for Alfie. He's straight back out there. Whereas these two have got things to change. Mogsy's getting on a soft rear. He's staying on that front hard. Clearly happy with it. Soft rear, though, going on to close the gap to Charlie and Alfie ahead. He's looking to make the push as we approach the half-an-hour mark. And Charlie ahead of him. Fresh hard for him on the front, but staying on the one he grabbed one lap prior. 79% of fuel then for Alfie at this point. 73 for Charlie, and Mogsy did fuel up just a little bit as he goes really wide there. Clearly a bit of a moment on the front for him on his V4R. Not a penalty because he's done well to slow down there and lose the time, and you can see how much further behind everyone is as Talian's only just and Mason is only just coming into pit lane as these guys are already a minute into their lap times. I mean, it's a huge gap, and I think this is just going to be the podium already unless something goes really wrong, perhaps a disconnection for one of the riders, as we're now 1 minute away from the halfway mark, and this is where things start to ramp up. The pressure starts to add on the race leader, on the men who need to win this race, being Mogsy and Charlie. Of course, Charlie leading a really big chunk of this race would be devastated not to take victory here. Despite being a newcomer, you always want that victory. Newcomer on track, that is, not to the championship, the organiser himself, but another newcomer in the form of Mogsy. I believe that is meant to represent the newcomer's bib. It might just be his suit, but we'll take a look at Tlian, who is his teammate in the MLD Ducati team, and clearly not a newcomer. So yeah, Mogsy is a newcomer, and you can just see Tlian there trying his best to keep up with Mason, but Mason doing a decent job there in fourth, but he's going to have to... yeah, he's going to need a miracle to get on the podium because they're much further ahead. As we're watching this battle for the podium now, Mogsy getting onto the grass again. That's a penalty for him, his first of the race. 2/10 for him, pretty much the same for Charlie ahead. But if these two start squabbling, they are going to let Alfie get away, and they're going to write off a chance at victory for both of them here, as we're now officially past the halfway mark. And here comes Mogsy all over the back of him here, looking to use that Ducati power down the straight. Oh, down the straight, I mean down the hill, as they now approach that downhill section, as they're going to go right, then left again. This gets really tight. Mogsy went into the wall a few times in this section and nearly went into the back of Charlie just there. He did a really good job to have them both stay on the bike, and now he's just doing everything he can to be really careful and tentative about this. But this is exactly what I was talking about. Mogsy just seeming like he has a bit more pace. That rear tyre having on the advantage to Charlie's rear, but the front tyre of Charlie on the advantage to Mogsy's front. Clearly that rear tyre just proving to be the more important one at this point. Mogsy looking like he's much faster as he goes for it. A brilliant move down the inside as Charlie might just be able to get the switch back here as he's going to try and do it, but that Ducati is going to be shooting off the corner as you can just see the BMW really struggling to get the exit. He's left for dead, unfortunately, but yeah, Alfie is now going to be leading. That's going to have held up Mogsy a really large amount, but currently seeming to be the fastest man out on track. We can't really tell from the lap times because they'll be in the pits and losing times in the pits. Oh no, that's too much curb. Mogsy's done it again. He's crashed and at a really fast section as well. That's going to lose him an absolute plethora of time. Oh, to Alfie in front, and of course dropping behind Charlie now. This is huge. This might just be the victory right here, right now for Alfie on his Beer Monster Ducati. He just has to ride it home. Look how far behind Charlie is now. Of course, as I mentioned before, we can't see the lap times. We can't see the gaps, between each rider. So we have no idea. The only guide we have is their lap time on circuit and the positions, obviously, as we see them on TV. But judging by that lap counter, he's about 11 seconds, 10 to 11 seconds ahead of Charlie. So Charlie's got a lot of work to do if he still wants to win this race. He's going to need more than one mistake from Alfie to win this. He's going to need something to go wrong in pit lane. Obviously, they can't spill fuel or anything. They can't, get his visor wrong. But he can make a poor decision in pit lane is what I'm referring to. He's definitely, I can imagine, going to be swapping for a new hard front. Looks like he's just going to spend the rest of the race on these hards unless it comes down to getting close on the last lap. But he's got more fuel than Charlie. He's got better wear on the rear than Charlie. Not doing too bad on the front, but yeah, Charlie on the rear, 37%, not doing too bad either. He might stay out for another lap on these tyres. He's just waiting to see what Alfie does. One benefit he's got of being so far behind Alfie now is that he should be able to see what Alfie does tyre-wise. Oh, no, big crash! A big crash on the inside curb and at a really fast section. Again, Charlie has gone down, and that may have just written off his race. That is it now. You may feel with 26 minutes left on the clock, it's maybe about a 15-second gap that Mogsy's got to Alfie ahead, and they're just thinking about each other now for second place. What a shame, but again, still things can go wrong in pit lane. It's a real shame that, of course, we had the disconnection yesterday in the Classic TT, because that was going to go all the way to the flag, or so me and Jack thought, based on the such even pace by Mogsy and Alfie on the Ducati 1098R. As Alfie comes down the straight, let's see what he's going to do in pit lane. It is now grown to about a 13-second gap, I believe, between Mogsy, and that's just based off their lap time so far. And of course, that gap is could be a bit off as Alfie comes into pit lane. If they don't do their lap, once a lap pit, then they will get a 20-second penalty, which will write off Alfie's chance at winning at this point in time, with the gap being what it is. He goes for a fresh hard, as I predicted. Let's see how much he fuels up then, as Mogsy now makes his way into pit lane. That just gives you an idea of how far ahead Alfie is, because Alfie will be out any moment now. He goes for a full tank of fuel. Oh no, that was inaccurate. Told us a fuel tank. 83% fueled up. Mogsy has to fuel up. He's going to run out of fuel if he doesn't. He goes for a fresh set of hards on both front and rear, so he's going to lose even more time to Alfie out in front. Charlie might just be able to get out in front of him here. He goes for a fresh rear. Mogsy, fresh, hard and front, and full tank to boot, and he's gone down at turn 1 on the cold tyre. That, oh my goodness, and Charlie's gone down too. What on earth is going on? Goodness me, they can't handle the cold tyre, and they're just handing it to Alfie at this point. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. They've both gone for a full tank and a fresh set of tyres, front and rear. Bar Charlie, who's decided to stick with his front hard from the previous lap. Mason's only just getting into the pits now. Might actually have a chance at the podium if these two keep making extremely costly mistakes like this, but we might just see that's it, I think. I mean, Alfie could crash all of 5 times in it, and it might still not be enough. It depends on where he crashes, whether it's in a fast section of the circuit or not. Alfie stayed out on his used rear tyre, got a fresh new front, filled up by about 20%, was on 40 before he came into the pits, and now Moggsy's gone full everything and has crashed on the first corner to lose him some more time. He's lucky that it was on a slow section of the circuit to lose himself maybe 2 to 3 seconds, but now he's got an even bigger job to do as the gap's looking like 20 seconds now between him and Alfie. Charlie is now a good ways off Moggsy as well, maybe about 5 seconds between them. Mason's only just come out of the pits. He's gone for a fresh hard on the front and a soft on the rear. 97%, a full tank for him as well. Tlian hasn't changed tyres, hasn't filled up his bike either. Has he skipped the pit lane? I can't prove that, unfortunately. I think he may have not pitted. I don't know. We're going to have a look, actually. I'm going to see if we can see the indicator to show if he went into pit lane or not. And if not, we'll just know that he decided not to fill up or anything. He was just doing the mandatory pit. He believes that he'll be able to stick it out for the rest of this lap, possibly even on rain mode to conserve all the fuel he possibly can. But he's at 26%, only a minute and a half into lap. He's going to end up running out of fuel. Going to rewind here to see what we can see on my phone. See if we can possibly catch Tlian out and get him a penalty. As positions not seeming to change at the moment, we're not going to see them change, I don't think, for a while. Of course, as I mentioned, it's going to take a lot of mistakes for Alfie to lose this. The whole grid getting penalties now, most of them just small, not too large. So I'm now just checking. It looks to me, I would have thought Tlian would have gained a position on Mason if he didn't pit. No, he did not pit. Tlian did not pit. So that is a 20-second penalty for Tlian. A costly error for him. As Moggsy's just crashed it. I think we must have seen it. I didn't see that. I was sorry. My apologies. I was just recapping on what happened there between Tlian. And that's just proved, as you can now see, the gap between Mason and Tlian not as big as it was before. Moggsy's crashed. Charlie's on the grass. It's all going wrong for them here. As Charlie goes on the grass again, Moggsy's going to have the run on him. And this, I think, officially is now a battle for second. Because it is going to be maybe a 30-second gap now to Alfie ahead. Even bigger. Even bigger. It looks to me... Yeah, a 30-second gap. Goodness me, it's just gone completely wrong for Charlie. Despite leading pretty much the entire first quarter of this race, the second quarter has just gone completely wrong. As we're about to end the third quarter and going into the final quarter, you'd have to say this race is run for the lead, but anything can happen. Disconnections can happen, certainly in Ride 6, certainly in a milestone game. That penalty getting bigger for Moggsy just bit by bit. That if it goes down to the flag for P2, that can make all the difference. He's looking to climb back into second. Alfie might just be about to do the double after victory in the Classic TT yesterday on his Beer Monster Ducati. But we're going to watch this battle for second. Big moment on the curbs there, Charlie. Both of them very similar in tyre wear, as Moggsy's going to try and go around the outside. I think he's just a bit tired now of getting held up in battles with Charlie. So, or maybe he's just... Oh, he's trying to get through as quick as he can to try and see if he can catch Alfie. But I think even they know now that ship may have sunk. With 20 minutes left on the clock, we're 40 minutes in. 2/3 race distance completed. So, if the red flag was to come out now, if we were to disconnect, then we would have a race run as we watch a sensational battle for second place. 90 minutes to go, fellas, and you're absolutely going for it like this. No, they don't know if something could go wrong in the pits, and Moggsy on the gravel. I don't know how he stayed on that. Oh, that was incredible action there as they were coming through on the fastest section on circuit, and they were bashing shoulders coming through it. Absolutely electric scenes here between Moggsy and Charlie, as they're still both up on their at least Moggsy is up on his PB. As he's right behind Charlie. Look how close they're getting. Here, let's go with Mogsy as he I'm getting all the names mixed up today. Because of the TV cam. Mogsy has now gone through into second place up the inside on the second carousel. Oh, Charlie's going to set up a wider line to get an exit. But, oh, it's too wide of a line. It's put him on the grass. And that's going to lose him a lot of time. Might have just lost him second place now. But I think both of them are going to stay out. Well, stay out. They're not going to stay out. But they're going to go into the pits, not refuel, not change tyres. Because they've got plenty of both to spare. And Alfie, I think, is just going to stay out on what he's got right now. He's staying on the same tyres as we watch Charlie fly by. He's going to be fueling to maximum. He's got the time. He can spend the time, and it'd be better off for him to just fuel up the tank completely, which he has done. 100% fuel for him, as Mogsy isn't even in the pits yet. That gives you an idea of how big the gap is now between the bottom two podium riders. As Charlie hits the wall there. He's lucky that he didn't. His autopilot didn't come off the bike. But Mogsy, that was a really fast lap for him. A 6:50.0, matching Alfie, but still not. Oh no, sorry, that's the fastest laps from a while ago. My apologies. I was going to say that couldn't have been his fastest lap given how many times he crashed, but here we go. He gets it right this time. Doesn't fold the front. Neither does Charlie. And Mason's coming down the back straight now. I think it's more likely that they'll be able to catch Alfie than Mason will be to catch that podium. But Talion is going to run out of fuel. He's on 3%. Actually, he might just be able to make it if he uses the eco mode. It's at 2%. Let's get on board with him and see. We can just see the indicator there. You can see fuel on 2. I don't know if that's a power mode or the no, it is the percentage of fuel. He is on 1% of fuel, and he's going to be running on fumes. And yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to coast down the hill and up the hill to get. So in a way, he's really not gained any time from staying out. Well, he's not gained anything at all because he's getting a 20-second penalty. He's running out of fuel as well. Ash has gone through. This race has been completely undone because Cleon decided not to pit, and he's going to do it this time, I can imagine. Didn't lose too much time there. Well, he did lose a lot of time, but in comparison to the gaps in this race between him and Gamer Jamie behind him. But yeah, a costly error there that may just put him outside of the top 6 if Gamer Jamie can get close enough here. He's going to have to fuel the bike way more than everybody else is. Hard front and rear decision for him. He's sticking with his hard from the previous lap. As we get a recap on the podium positions, it's still Mogsy out there with a strong lead ahead of Charlie. We're about to enter the final quarter of the Nürburgring TT, the modern TT getting underway. 45 minutes ago now. Alfie Cox getting proper upset on the curbs. Just being a bit careful for now. I messed up my words a bit there because I couldn't decide whether to call out his poor lines or just mention him being careful. Of course, I say poor lines as if I could do any better on this game. He's doing a brilliant job, Alfie. He had a bit of a rocky start to the race, but he's recovered and he's doing absolutely fantastically. A much better job than he did in the Classic TT, and he still won the Classic TT. So that just goes to show you how incredible a performance this is from the Englishman today. The Welshman in second, doing everything he can to close the gap, trying to get into that flow state, but you need to be so careful on the curbs. They can drop you at any point. Charlie looks like he's drifting off that second place now. It's crunch time this final 15 minutes. Mason is going to be doing everything he can to hang on to 4th. I think he's safe for now as long as he stays on it. Ash is a good ways behind. Slean's there in 6th. He won't be too far behind Ash. Maybe about 10 seconds. Yeah, 10 seconds. So not too bad considering he ran out of fuel. But of course he will have that 20-second penalty applied, which might just put him behind Gamer Jamie at this point. This is, if it stays like this, it'll really be close. It'll go down to maybe a second or two to decide whether Talion loses the top 6 or not based on his penalty. Adam BGP actually not too far off Gamer Jamie here. So looking to get into the top 7 after a disappointing first 2/3 of the race. And now it looks like he's starting to get in touch with that RS. Alright then, hello. I'm not sure if this broadcast is still on, but unfortunately, my internet was unplugged. In a series of unfortunate events. It's really annoying. Absolutely devastating, to be honest. I'm really sorry that we didn't get to see the end of that one. So yeah, sadly, it was not Milestone, so I'll admit I'm sorry to Milestone for accusing them of that. Even if it was you guys able to see that part, because I might have already disconnected by then. But yeah, it looks like they're about to go into the last 10 minutes now. And sadly, we're just going to have to end it here because we've got nothing else to show you, sadly. I can't get back into the lobby because I haven't got an invite thanks to Riot 6's wonderful thing. I can't get back in. So, no, unfortunately, we're just going to have to end it here. And you'll have to keep an eye out on my Instagram where the results will be posted from this fantastic Nürburgring Modern TT. Thank you very much for joining me. It is a crying shame that we had both races end on something rather than seeing the riders cross the line. The final 15 minutes, unfortunately, were not streamed. Absolutely devastating, but thank you very much for joining me, and make sure you keep an eye on my Instagram for any further updates on the results, and of course any future races I might be commentating on, maybe returning to this 24 racing series. It's been fantastic commentating on them. The TT has been fantastic, the Nürburgring TT, that being the classic yesterday. It was a brilliant action with me and Jack commentating. Of course, if you want to go see that, or at least half of that, then you can go and watch that. And of course, if you want to see the first 3 quarters of the Modern TT and you just missed it, then you'll be able to rewind and watch that. So yeah, of course, as I said, results will be smashed out on my Instagram in a few hours time. Keep your eye out if you want to find out who took victory, who got on the podium, but I think we can all guess who the podium finishers were, at least, just for the rest of the field. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and